Hello, welcome back to the Maganda Forever podcast. I am your co-host, Monica.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Vince.
Did you hear an echo or something? Something's weird with my audio.
No.
Am I coming through okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, let me check some settings.
It's probably Jace making noise in his Batman outfit.
Probably. I mean, that guy's been doing so much lately. Now that he has time. I don't know.
Hey, man, can you keep
Hey,
it down?
what's up, dude?
Try to do a podcast.
Oh, my bad. All right, I got you.
What's up? I'm Monica.
I'm Vince.
And I'm in my own square. And welcome to the Maganda Forever podcast.
Shower. You have your own air conditioner too.
I wasn't even invited. Hold on, I hear something. Let me go check. No,
It's gonna be dude.
walking in on a Corsilio Zoom.
Roll over the ocean. Roll over.
Anyways, we're covering what? Episode 5 or 4?
Four.
4. Jeez, it's almost already done. Can't believe it. Feels like it just started.
It's so weird because, like we've talked about before, there's so much that you can do, or so much that you need to do, really. But there's only 6 episodes, so it's like I don't know how they're gonna cram so many things. And I mean, I guess that's part of it. I don't know if it was the pandemic, like if that changed the trajectory of how many episodes they filmed.
Yeah, because we know that happened for Wanda, where they cut a whole storyline or like story arc because
I didn't even know that, and I didn't get that sense because they paced it so well. And in this one, I felt like this particular episode moved along much smoother than the last one. I feel like the beginning of this episode should have been put in the last episode to make it feel like it had more substance, because a lot of it was still taking part on Lamentus. And it could have been part of that last episode if they just cut some of that other stuff out.
Yeah,
and it would have made like it would have felt like the plot was moving along in that one if they kept, because this one was pretty content heavy. There's a lot of stuff.
I like this episode.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, me too.
my favorite one.
It's so weird, like to go from an episode like 3 then to 4, which had a lot of stuff happening. Like you could have put some of that stuff in from 4 in 3 to make it feel a little more balanced.
I'm hoping that it's not like Falcon and Winter Soldier, where it's like, oh, the third to the last was the best one, and then the penultimate one was like,
Yeah.
Momentum. Yep. No, but the way this one ended, you could tell they're gearing up for something in 5, and then 6 is going to be pretty big, I feel like. So
we got a content heavy week. We have the penultimate Loki on Wednesday, and then we got Black Widow on Friday. So
yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
Hey,
do you know when Black Widow drops on Disney Plus? If it drops at midnight, I'm watching that thing like 7 times.
I'm pretty sure it's the same thing on Friday, where at the same day of premiere of the theater is the same thing as Disney Plus.
I believe it's gonna be kind of like the Mulan release, where you have to pay to watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because that one,
it's like buying a ticket.
Yeah, it's the premiere.
You have to pay for a subscription service?
It's for like if you want to watch it on release day. They didn't do it for one of their other movies, but they did it for Mulan. And I think going forward, because more people are going to the theater, they're going to start doing it, especially like to calculate like box office stuff, like how many people actually watched it and stuff.
All right, well, I'm going to be Venmoing Vince then.
But I think so you purchase it, but you don't own it, right? You purchase it and okay.
So it's the same thing that we did for Raya, I believe.
Raya was the other one.
But it was so you basically, it's like premiere access.
Yeah.
But you pay for it so that it releases the same day. You pay for it and you own it until you cancel your subscription. Okay. But you're getting it before the general population in a way where it's like free.
Yeah, it's before the like DVD release.
Yeah.
Like once it hits like DVD Blu-ray is when it'll be available on Disney Plus for free.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I'm looking forward to that. It's still gonna be lit in my room.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think it's gonna be hella good.
Yeah, I invited you to a watch party, but I also know that the way you watch stuff is like they say a sentence and then you rewind it. Like, what did they say?
Especially if I see Taskmaster fight scenes, dude, I'm gonna be rewinding that shit like crazy.
Yeah, dude.
You're gonna be like,
you're gonna be looking at your own temp pad,
rewinding it, trying to copy it in real time.
It's basically what happens anytime you hear someone's accent you like.
Anyways, let's get with this. What was the name of this episode?
Nexus events, I think.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot happens in this. I kind of forget the order of the flashback and what currently happens. So I can go into the flashback first, and then we'll go into what proceeds in the rest of the episode. So we kind of get a look at Sylvie's backstory. It's very, very brief, but you see that she is playing in the palace and like playing with like some action figures, and she even references Valkyrie, and like how Valkyrie will like save something or whatever. And then you see a portal open, and you see the judge walk out as an officer. So this was back, like we mentioned before, like her wall of trophies, she had a pruning stick. So it was like, oh, it's like the progression of her career.
She had the helmet too, I think.
Yeah. So this is back when she was probably just like, she doesn't have a name. She's just like a like number and letter.
Yeah.
But so she's leading, what's it called? She's leading the team to take out the Nexus being or whatever, the thing that causes the branch. And it turns out to be Sylvie. And it's Sylvie as like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, which was pretty crazy because you wouldn't think that they would take someone, they would prune a kid. And so that was pretty shocking to me because of course, as an audience, you don't really know the backstory yet right now, but you wouldn't think that they would start that young and they would just take someone that young.
Yeah.
You know?
And Sylvie,
dark hair.
Yeah, she had dark hair. And Sylvie even mentioned when in the previous episode when she's talking about like losing her mom young and like just having a different thing. I thought that maybe like Frigga just died, but it's because they had pruned her branch so young, her whole world died. So they take her to what is it called? The TVA. They take her to the TVA. She stands trial. It's a different judge, obviously, because our current judge is an officer. And before they can like sentence her, she grabs the temp pad and she disappears. So we find out she has been running from the TVA since she was like a kid. And it's crazy, like she's able to evade them that long.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the cool things too, when Monica mentioned it too earlier, when she's playing with the action figures, it's, if you notice, one of them is a Valkyrie, and then one of them is the wolf.
Oh.
That in Thor Ragnarok.
Fenrir Sulfur, whatever.
I forgot the name, but yeah, so that is mentioned too. So I thought that was a cool,
nice
Easter
egg,
I guess, or not, because it's still the same characters, but you know, it's got its own twist to it.
Yeah. So we figured that out, that our current judge is the one that basically let Sylvie get away, and they had been chasing her for that long. But I wonder, like, how long has she been killing teams? Like, was she always just on the run trying to figure out, like, how long did it take her to figure out to hide in the apocalypses, and how long had she been killing off their members? Because the revelation that they're all variants, like, how quickly can they brainwash variants into becoming officers?
And at the same time too, she learned all of her magic by herself.
Self-taught. Yeah.
So like that's also pretty crazy too, because if she was doing that pretty much when she was a kid up until now, she's been on her own up until now. Yeah. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. So current time, we saw that they didn't make it off of Lamentus. We thought that maybe he had the time stone and could like go back, but there's no mention of any of the stones.
This is the part that I thought could have been in episode 3. Like they included the ending of it. That would have given more weight and had a purpose for them to be stuck on there and just to be following them the whole episode. The whole end of the world.
Yeah. So Sylvie and Loki have a whole heart-to-heart of like
is weird.
I know.
They're about to have a dick to vag moment, dude. I was like, oh, it's coming.
Dude, it was so weird because it's like, is it incest or something? Or like,
I mean, they're
it's
both
masturbation.
Yourself, right? Yeah.
I called it though. It's self-love. He's
they're
a narcissist.
Both hedonists, and they're both narcissists. So who else can they get with but themselves?
So that was
perfect. I called it.
Yeah, self-love, dude. That's what it is.
But yeah, so they're basically resigned to them not getting off there. Like, how is the TVA going to find them? Because no Nexus energy rises typically we've been told in apocalypses, because nothing can change in an apocalypse. But they see the moon like crashing into the planet. Meanwhile, Agent Mobius and the judge were like trying to figure out like how are they going to find them, and like trying to prune as many branches as they could from all of the TemPads that Sylvie set off to cause all the branching. And they're kind of just in like emergency mode. And we see the judge go up and talk to the timekeepers, come down and say like, you know, kind of blaming it on Mobius, like you're the one who thought that Loki would be a good idea to bring in on this mission. Like now we have to find them.
Yeah.
It doesn't really show. Oh no, it does. It showed how they kind of found them. I guess like their self-love moment created a nexus of
Yeah.
them.
So
yeah, when they held hands.
yeah, so they held hands, and then you see on the temp pad the rise, I guess, right? But then the rise is different because they're also talking about like, have you ever seen a rise like that? Or
So
have
quickly.
you seen a So pretty much on all the other branches, it go. Where's the camera? Okay, so it like gradually goes up, but when Loki and Sylvie like touch each other, it pretty much just went straight up.
Yeah.
So there was like a rise that was very uncommon. So that's what kind of that's what made the TVA be able to
Find
see them. Yeah.
And I mean, they did hand-to-hand combat. Like Sylvie tried to like enchant him. They've touched before, but I guess like I don't know if it was the.
I was wondering that, yeah, because like has none of the TVA like shook hands?
No, but I mean, like, I wonder.
What?
I wonder if it's just because they're having a moment where like it was kind of character defying, where he was like, "We'll get through this" or whatever. Like, it's not what.
No, I think it's when two Lokis come together.
Dude,
That's
Loki,
what,
something else.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what has happened, dude.
Loki's like,
Dude.
oh.
I'm having a Nexus event in my pants.
Anyway, so we see B15. That's the
B-52.
52.
50, that's a great NES game.
B-15.
So we see B-15, Agent Mobius, and their troops taking in both Sylvie and Loki separately. And then Mobius, of course, stays with our Loki. And then Sylvie is not really interrogated. She's just kept in a room guarded by B-15. But you can
Her
see...
name is Rhonda, first of all. Are you talking about the big black lady?
Yes.
I feel like she needs like a sassy black lady name.
Rhonda 15.
But yeah, so you can kind of see like I almost called her Rhonda. You can see that B-15 is kind of shook. Like she asks Mobius, oh, this is after. So once the Lokis are captured, Mobius and the judge have a conversation in her office. It's like, this is a career defining moment. And like, something just doesn't feel right to him. Is that conversation before or after he interrogates Loki?
It's gotta be
After?
Oh no, after. You're right. Yeah.
Okay.
because he kind of.
I'm jumping ahead.
Loki kind of
Gets in his head.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they're captured, you just see that Sylvie's taken to another room, and then we focus on Agent Mobius and Loki, and he's trying to like soften him up, but instead of good cop, bad cop, he throws him into the time prison. And Loki is reliving a moment in his history, which is like, it's like a minor moment that he even said, like, I forgot about it. I thought it was funny. He paid no attention to it, but it's Sif coming in with half her head shaved.
surprise. It's Sif.
And she keeps repeating the same.
We got a cameo. Sif.
Yeah. But she keeps repeating the same lines where like scolding him and like punching him, kicking him in the balls, and like, you'll always be alone. And the first couple times he's like, I get it, like whatever. But he's left there for so long that he actually starts to show remorse. Like, I never thought anything of it. I thought it would be funny. I didn't mean to hurt you, whatever. Like, please
Do
don't.
it for attention.
Yeah, I do it for attention. I don't want to be alone. It's my biggest fear. And she's like, you'll always be alone.
Damn, that line hit hella hard. I was like, shit, that cut deep.
Even when he's with someone, he's with himself.
And that was also in like the Norse mythology. Like of Loki cutting Siv's hair. So that was kind of cool that it was like
interesting,
accurate to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that pretty much plays over in a loop, just like in Doctor Strange, that whole the time loop thing. And then eventually, like we were talking about, like he kind of comes to a realization of who he is, you know, and like the reasons why he does the stuff that he does. And so that's when, is that when
well, Mobius takes him out and he was like, tell me like what you guys are up to. And he tried to originally take credit for the whole plot, like, oh, that other Loki is my minion and this whole thing was my plan. And like Mobius kind of calls BS. And then he eventually tells him like, the TVA is lying to you guys. You're all variants. And then he throws him back into the time loop, whatever, prison.
Is that when doesn't Mobius also try to spin it around? Like he says that they already pruned.
Well, first he finds out that they're variants, and I think, and then like later in another interrogation tactic, he's trying to find out more about like what Loki said, like why did they lie to like bullshit, like what else are you hiding from me? And then he tries to tell Loki like we've already pruned the other Loki, and he was like her name was Sylvie, and he can see that like she actually means a lot to our Loki. So it's just like both of them kind of like digging in at each other, where they start to make the other one think. Like Loki's starting to make Mobius question the TVA, which he had complete faith in. And then Mobius is starting to get Loki to really understand like, oh my God, that moment when he thought that Sylvie was gone, he was like a wreck. Like kind of similar to like when his mom passed away, when he was like, tell me the truth. Like, what is she alive? Like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we go into the conversation between Mobius and the judge that I mentioned before. She said, this is a career defining moment. They want you there when we prune the Lokis. Like you should be honored. All
Mobius, they want to fix your nose. And he's like, oh my God. Finally.
But Mobius like is starting to question things. So he's asking her like what happened to C20 and the other agent that was with Sylvie for so long. Like she was coherent, she was talking, but she kept saying it's real, what is she talking about? And then the judge says like, oh, she was like barely coherent at the end, she died, and like just saying that like just to end that train of thought. But Mobius is still like digging in, like what was he asking?
She was asking, well, they kind of had that conversation of like, what time would you go to? Or what time
would you
go to?
If you could go anywhere.
Yeah. And then that kind of just sparks the whole conversation about, you know, the TVA and all that stuff. And then he asked some other stuff too. I forgot what it was though.
I think he was asking like more about C20.
Yeah.
And then more about like, can I interrogate the other Loki, because I made a lot of headway with my Loki.
Yeah.
And I think if I can play them together, I can find out more for us and we can figure out what they're trying to do. And she just keeps chopping it, like focus on your Loki. Like don't even focus on this one. And that's when she dangles the carrot where it's like, oh, the timekeepers want to meet you. They want you to be there when they're pruned, and like trying to refocus him, but he still like won't let it go. So he distracts her by like, where are you placing the trophy of Sylvie's dagger or sword? And then he switches TemPads with the judge so that he can search like what she has stored on there. And after he leaves her office, he is able to locate the interview with C20, and she confirms what Loki said, like, we're all variants. I was there, I was on Earth, I had friends, like, I know that bar that she took me to, like, they're lying to us, they're lying to us.
My name was Rhonda.
This is C20, it's the one with the dreams.
Oh, my bad.
Her name was Robert Carson. Oh, and then I don't know if this is when this takes place, but there was that scene too with Mobius, and I think he was talking to Rhonda, and he was like, "Oh, we brought in a Titan, we brought in a Kree, we brought in a vampire."
Yeah.
So that was like
that was good.
Like, I was hella shocked when he said that.
Yeah, like of all things, like a Loki is the thing that's gonna take down the TVA.
Yeah, so that was. So for Kree, we obviously have seen Kree in the MCU. We know that. And
we saw one in the first episode being taken in.
Wasn't that a Skrull?
Oh, it was a Skrull.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
And then Titan, we kind of assume it's Thanos or maybe someone from the planet Titan. So it can be either a version of Thanos, it can be just a regular person from Titan. But then also it could be one of the Eternals, right? Because isn't Angelina Jolie's character, isn't she related to Thanos?
I think all of them are loosely like tied with the Titans.
Okay.
So they think that in Eternals we might see a baby Thanos, or like his adolescence, what shapes him.
Angelina.
Angelina.
Angelina Brolin.
Broly.
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 Me too.
Yeah, and then that was the first actual mention of vampires. So
Oh man.
that
There's
is
just gonna be hauling Frost in there. Get off me. If I can kill you.
we have so of course there's Blade, that's going to be introduced in the MCU, but then do you think that also can refer to Morbius? Or do you think that's like, is that going to be
I thought Morbius was in the works.
in the MCU?
I thought he was going to be in the MCU.
Okay, now I wasn't sure.
I can't
Like,
remember.
I think it's a Sony thing.
Yeah, but then with the whole thing of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and all those other Spider-Man villains coming in, like, do you think they're gonna
bring in Topher?
Dude, I hope so. But yeah, so the whole vampire thing, I was really shocked when they said that.
Yeah. So going back to that recording, we do see that the person who conducted the interview was the judge. So he's like, oh shit, she obviously knows that like the TVA is lying to us and everything Loki said was true. And then he tries to get in to talk to Sylvie, and B-15 stops him. And she again asks about C-20, like, is she okay? Like, what happened to her? And then he kind of lies to her, like, oh yeah, she's fine. Like, because he doesn't want to let her know that she's dead.
They should have had a cameo by E40, bro. He would have fit perfectly. C20, I'm E40. C20 Fonzarelli. Just walking around with the prune stick.
But you can see that B-15 is shaken from the time that she was overtaken by Sylvie, when Sylvie was like talking through her at the rocks cart. But then like I think Mobius isn't able to see Sylvie, so he goes back to Loki and he says, like, did you mean what you said? Like, I'm like basically aligning himself with him. Like, I can't believe they had been lying to us this whole time.
Yeah.
He takes him out of the
time
loop
thing. But they had like a really good moment. It was a really good moment, and it was like really short too. And basically it was Aladdin and Jasmine was like, do you trust me? It was basically that same type of thing. He's like, okay, so I did my own kind of research or recon, and I believe you. I believe that you're telling me the truth, and we're all in this kind of plan, and like, let's work together and stuff like that. So that's when. Oh, and then Loki calls him a friend. That was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, because earlier Mobius said like it's kind of like a dick thing you did to a friend, like him betraying Mobius for Sylvie, who he didn't even know, and then like Loki calls back to it like, oh, thanks for like being a friend or something like that. Like he acknowledges their rapport with each other.
Yeah.
And we're like, yay, they're gonna like save the day, and then they get out and the judge is there with a bunch of guards.
Yeah, man, that was a crazy scene too, because pretty much you think that Loki and Mobius are one step ahead. And then you find out that basically
she noticed the tempad switch.
Yeah, Renslayer is 2 steps ahead. So like she was ready with the other guards and stuff.
Waiting for them.
Just waiting for them, yeah. And then that's when they kind of have their little talk again too. And then that's when Mobius, he's like, so you know where I would go? I would go to
wherever I came from.
Yeah, I would go to wherever I came from, and I
bet I had a jet ski.
Yeah. And then that's when she just like straight up, she's like,
prune him.
Yeah, and then he's like, wow.
And he wakes up in the desert, like buried in sand, and he has chopsticks in his mouth. And he has
Cosmic City. But that was hella shocking.
It got me. Yeah.
That was,
Dude, we still have 2 episodes.
Yeah,
What's going on?
that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, it was just heartless. Like he kind of tried to call back originally, like, oh yeah, I was halfway down before I noticed that it was switched, and trying to play it off as an accident, and then kind of trying to play off of their rapport of like we've been, they basically climbed the ranks together, I feel like. And it's significant that they both are acknowledged with names and not numbers. But she just was straight up like prune him and like no hesitation. So they take Loki to the corridor with the golden elevator that leads to the timekeepers. And they're kind of like, Sylvie asks him like, are you okay? And you can see that Loki's kind of like shocked that Mobius isn't there. And I think kind of hurt maybe, like, not just that was his only way out, but like he did acknowledge him as a friend. So they're going up in the elevator alone with Renslayer. And I forgot to mention, before all of this happened, B-15 goes into Sylvie's room, like kind of simultaneously to Morbius going in to see Loki. And she takes Sylvie to Rock's cart because like no one tracks the apocalypse. And she says like, is it true? Like what you showed me? And she wants to know where she came from. And she even acknowledges like, I looked happy, like what happened? And so B-15 kind of has a secret plan going on with Sylvie to help take down the TVA. So that's when they all meet up at the elevator. Renslayer takes the 2 Lokis up by herself. And it's significant because you can see like when Sylvie got away as a kid, like Renslayer looked wrecked. And I would think a mistake that big, you would carry that with you for a long time. Like, but when Sylvie asked, like, what was my Nexus event? What caused you to take me from my timeline and like destroy my home, basically? And she was like, I don't remember. And
with like a smirk.
Yeah. I feel like she knows, but like she's not giving her the satisfaction of letting her acknowledge what it was. Because
I don't even know who you are.
You took everything from me. But yeah, so I mean, like it could be something as small as like what you said, like she had Valkyrie and the wolf, and it was like something in the future happening in her imagination, whatever. So she takes Sylvie to the 3 giant timekeepers, and then they have
that's the first time
we actually
see the timekeepers.
It looks like a pocket dimension where like they're on 3 thrones, but it's like kind of ethereal and stuff like that. It kind of looked like where we first see Thanos.
On that meteor.
On the meteor, yeah.
And that dude was just whispering in Loki's ear, he will find you. I remember that. I could feel you enunciating.
His tongue is just in his ear. Dude.
There's no crevice. I can find you. What Willie?
When the 2 Lokis are brought in front of the timekeepers, don't they like, I forget if there was talking or if B-15 arrives immediately. Wasn't there talking?
I think there's like a little bit of dialogue, but I don't remember what the details were. But yeah, so once they're kind of in there, basically, that's when B-15 comes in, and she says something too. I think she says like their whole tagline, but then she
for all time, always.
Something, yeah. And then that's when she throws Sylvie's dagger, I guess, or her sword, and then that's when and then they take off the collars for.
So during the confrontation before B-15 arrives, Sylvie has like some kind of confrontation with the timekeepers. I can't recall the specific dialogue, but Renslayer does like take pleasure in rewinding her and putting her back in her place. So you see that they're still locked in, and like I can't remember what was said, but it's kind of on the lines of like, like puny mortal, like you don't reason with the timekeepers, they are all of time, stuff like that. And then B-15 comes, takes off, deactivates the collars and gives them a weapon. And then they start fighting all of the soldiers. And Sylvie kind of single-handedly takes on Renslayer. Loki has like 2 or 3 guards he's fighting,
Yeah.
and then B-15 takes down a few before she's taken down herself. So you actually see not a lot of them are pruned in this fight scene. A lot of them are like stabbed or like injured. But at the end of the fight scene, like I think I wish I wrote down all the dialogue, but Sylvie knocks out Renslayer, and then they decapitate one of the timekeepers. Well, they try to bargain with them, like, let's talk about this. Like, the Lokis can align themselves to us, and like trying to plead basically, and they end up beheading one of them.
Yes, she throws it against it's kind of weird because there's not really a main one, but you kind of have a sense that there is one, because basically in a lot of the shots throughout the season, it focuses really just on one, and then it kind of just zooms out to focus on the other one. So, and even in the placement, there's 3 of them, but there's one basically at the top of their triangle. And that's the one that, in my opinion, it looks, even in the cartoon that they had at the beginning of like the first season, it looks like the actor who is playing Kang. Like, that's just in my opinion, like just the way that his nose is and stuff like that. Like, he just looks similar to the actor that's playing Kang.
It's incepting you.
It could be incepting you, yeah. But so Sylvie throws her dagger or something like that, and then it decapitates the main one, and that's when all of them start like
malfunctioning.
Yeah, malfunctioning, and that's when she picks it up, and then it's basically the revelation that it's what we've talked about before. One of our theories.
We're at Chuck E. Cheese.
Animatronic.
That's basically what it was. It's a mindless drone, or android. I mean, and so that was a big revelation too, because basically everything is fake, right?
Yeah.
So we don't.
Sylvie was like, I can't feel you.
And that's basically like more unanswered questions. Like, we think that we're going to get an answer, and then at the same time, and even Loki is questioning. He's like, when is this going to end, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, so Loki's kind of trying to talk Sylvie off of a ledge, basically, because like Sylvie had been planning this for years.
Yeah.
She was like, I think Sylvie's the one that's like, where does it end? And like, where do we go from here? And Loki is the one that's trying to calm her down. Like, we'll fix it. We'll find a way, basically. And he gets to the point where he's almost, it sounds like he's about to confess, like how he cares about her and how he was scared of her being pruned.
Yeah.
And right in the middle of that confession is when he gets pruned by Renslayer.
Yeah. It's like, wow.
That's just the universal pruning noise. Everyone's
that was another part where
I was like, what?
Yeah, there's probably like 2 or 3 times in this episode where I was just like, oh shit, that was crazy. Because at the time, without watching, the post-credit scene, you are to assume that he's dead.
Yeah. And there's an even further fight scene. Like, I can't give any of the MCU or like the series fight scenes justice because they're just well choreographed. Like between this and Falcon and all that. So there's another fight scene between Renslayer and Sylvie. This time, again, Sylvie is victorious, and she's holding the judge there, and she's like, basically like, go ahead and do it or something, like telling her to prune, telling Sylvie to prune the judge. And then she's like, you're going to tell me everything. And then that's when the credits hit. Mm-hmm. And then we finally get a mid-credit scene where you see Loki wake up on the floor, like, am I dead? And he's like,
he says, am I in hell?
Does he? Okay.
He says in hell.
Yeah, he's like, am I in hell? And they're like, not yet, but you will be if you don't come with us. And he looks up and there's like all kinds of different Lokis.
Yeah, that was hella cool. So we get to see what, like 4 of them? So there's Kid Loki.
Yeah.
There was a classic Loki.
The old one with
the classic costume and the big horns. There was an alligator Loki.
Was it an alligator?
Or a crocodile?
Kind of, some kind of animal.
And then it was what they said in the credits is boastful Loki, which I don't know if that was accurate in the comments, like if they did like a race swap or something like that. I don't know.
It was interesting because everyone, like even Sylvie, to signify it was a Loki, had some form of horns, but the boastful one, like, not only was he a different race, but then like he didn't have any form of horns on him. He had a hammer.
He also had a hammer, which was
it wasn't meow meow.
Yeah, like it looks
like a Viking hammer.
Yeah, like a fake one or like
Some
one
kind
that
of
like he
weapon,
kind of
yeah.
made himself in a way.
Yeah.
Definitely doesn't look like Mjolnir. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the version of Loki where he actually gets a hammer in that timeline or something like that. I don't know.
But it looks like a barren wasteland, and it kind of reminds me of both in Inception when you fall into limbo and it's like crumbling buildings, and it also reminds me of that weird post credit in Justice League when they're like in sepia tone desert, like it's
apocalyptic
just
type of,
basically like run down.
Yeah.
So you're led to believe like, oh shoot, the people who are pruned
They are in hell. They're in Constantine hell.
But it makes sense if the timekeepers aren't real, then like how would they like pruning? You can't take someone out of existence if you don't have that kind of power.
So do you think everyone who gets pruned gets sent to that place?
I think so.
Either that or somehow the pruning gets you to a specific spot, right? So like, do you think it's only to like basically the same thing you were just asking, but like, so is it only the Lokis that are there, or do you think Mobius is also in that area?
Well, so it makes sense that there are more Lokis greeting him because they said we've pruned more Lokis than any other being.
Oh, yeah.
So there would be more Lokis in wherever they are.
Yeah.
But if they have like the time prison where you're like back in someone's memories, it stands to reason there's some kind of just like catch-all prison where everyone's pruned.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then in the background too, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it looks like Avengers Tower. So one of the theories is that it's either wherever they are, that's either a timeline where
the Chitauri one.
Yeah, so either Loki won, and so when the Chitauri came in the first Avengers, so basically Loki won. Everybody lost. So that whole world is basically conquered by Loki. Either that or like it's a world where what was another big event? So like maybe Ultron actually won, or maybe Thanos like completely just won the whole thing, and there was no like 5 years later. It was actually like forever. So there's that theory. Where
so it's just another apocalypse, you think?
Could be. That's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't know. We have 2 episodes to figure out how Loki's getting back and what's up with
pulling the strings.
Yeah, because it's the whole thing where it's like it is like the Wizard of Oz. It's literally puppets.
Yeah.
Like when you get to the end of the yellow brick road, which makes sense because there's a yellow elevator. It was a gold elevator.
Oh.
It's referencing Oz, maybe.
I thought that was a golden ticket, and he was going to see Willy Wonka.
Charlie Bucket.
I think it might be. My theory is that it's Kang pulling the strings, and instead of like him trying to keep multiple like branches from happening, he's trying to keep any possibilities of him being defeated. Like he's creating a future where he wins, and then he has to prune all the multiverse occurrences so that there's like it limits the possibilities of him not winning in the ultimate like future.
And it says too, like, didn't they mention that, you know, Lokis are, they're meant to survive and all that stuff. And basically that would interrupt with Kang's plans, right? Because Loki would always be the one trying to interfere with creating like that timeline, something like that.
I mean, yeah, that's what Loki was telling Sylvie on Lamentis, where it's like, we're meant to survive. Loki's always survived.
So that
I'll find a way.
The common theory is the Kang one. One of the theories too that's out there, which I really like, is that it's actually just a better version of Loki, or a future Loki, like a superior type Loki. So he's the one actually pulling the strings. He's the Jet Li, where he's just running the TVA, but he knows that himself can
foil the plans.
Yeah, so that's why he's trying to basically prune all the Lokis, basically so that there's only one.
Okay. So
there's that theory. And then another one is that it's Renslayer, you know, basically running the whole thing, which ties in the whole Kang thing, because maybe she is running it, but she's running it for Kang, you know, and like this is some sort of testament to their love or something like that, where it's like she's trying to prove herself to Kang.
I wonder if, I mean, like she did like let Sylvie slip through her fingers as a regular police officer, whatever. if she was willing to be like hella cutthroat in order to fix that mistake, they like King could have chosen her like, oh, you're cutthroat enough, like
Yeah.
you can keep my secret and we'll find that Loki together, something
Yeah.
like that. I don't really know much of King from the comics, but I do have a question about like, because they're making all of these like kind of side characters like Wanda and Loki like their own stars. Do you think they're ever going to integrate back into the main MCU? Like Wanda's going to be in Doctor Strange, but do you think like in the way that they were before, like is Loki going to appear in Thor Love and Thunder? Or
I wonder if this Loki, after finding out what happens at the end of the series, goes to warn like Doctor Strange and Wanda.
Oh, that'd be sick. So like he would have a cameo in like.
I would hope so.
yeah.
Because I mean, both of them are dealing with time and Nexus events.
True.
So,
and I know in the comics, the like Young Avengers, right? So we've already kind of set up the Young Avengers in a way, right? So we have like Wiccan, Speed, the other Captain America.
Eli Bradley.
Yeah, Eli Bradley.
You got Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang.
And then also now there's a kid Loki. So like, and I think
Young
he's
Avengers.
also in the
Okay.
in the lineup in the comics too. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
maybe that plays a part into it too. So like they're really just setting up the future once kind of like the OG actors are leaving.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I wonder also, like, once they, I mean, not to the point of Kid Avengers or Young Avengers, but like they're kind of setting up Wanda to be a bad guy, but they're setting up Loki to be a good guy. So like, are they
True.
flipping the script on all of these people? Like,
Kind of, I kind of like that.
That
Well,
would be cool.
you either live long enough to see yourself
So
become the
become the
villain, or
villain.
something like
die a
Yeah.
hero or live long enough to see yourself
Yeah.
become the villain.
I'm trying to see Wanda with half a face. That'd be sick.
that. Who do you guys think, or like, how do you think Renslayer became the judge? Because if she was a variant, like, if everyone was a variant,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do you think she did?
I wonder if
And,
she
like-
helped pick
She had a great resume.
like who pick like who would be a good candidate to be brainwashed. I don't know, because they did say
I
like
know.
C20 had like a very muddled brain, but they blamed it on Sylvie. But Sylvie said like her brain was fucked up. Like it took a while to like construct the memory in order to get the answers she wanted.
And like, what happened to the previous judge too?
Yeah,
You
this
know.
is some white guy.
Yeah, like, did he get pruned or something like that? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Right when he put in his retirement, he got pruned.
Huh?
I said right when he put in his retirement, he got pruned.
I was just saying, I was like, I don't think there's retirement in the TVA. They said time
He was putting his staff on the wall, and he's like, oh fuck, oh!
It's a total accident.
How many pruning accidents have there been, dude?
potato like oh.
How many agents have grabbed the wrong end and pruned themselves? Oh fuck!
Oh.
That's not my dildo.
Ew, disgust.
Stupid.
That's gross.
There is no moon where he cannot find you. Sorry, I'm just thinking about that scene again.
But yeah, so those are all the kind of questions and theories that I have. But I really liked this episode. I think it's probably my favorite so far because there were so
too.
many like shocking moments. And
They pruned the two main characters,
yeah,
Loki and Mobius.
but it's just crazy that there's only 2 more episodes left. So like, how are they going to tie in so many questions? But I guess
I mean,
My main question is what happens when you touch the tips of pruning sticks? Like, which one gets pruned? Both of them?
if they touch each other,
The tips.
does it wrap around each other like the Schwartz?
What happens when you dock with pruning sticks?
what happens when you cross streams with a pruning stick, dude?
Gross. Man, there's a lot to unpack in the next couple episodes. I feel like the next episode, I don't know if they'll focus on world building for where Loki is, or if like they're gonna let him find Mobius that quickly in one episode.
That's true. Or dude, what if it was Mobius running the TVA, dude?
No, that
What if
fool's
it
in love with
was,
jet skis.
dude?
If he was running the TVA, he would have like instead of trophies, he'd just have jet skis.
I think before the show's over, we're gonna see him on a jet ski.
We should. The showrunner said they wouldn't let him say his iconic wow, but I wonder.
Just him like riding
Wow.
the night away, dude. That's how it ends, dude. You just riding the night away.
Cut him off mid-wow like Captain America and Ultron. Avengers. Credits.
Well, that's it for this week. Join us next week for our cover of Black Widow. I'm very excited. It's like hella long in the making. But I am your co-host, Monica.
I'm Vince.
And I'm still in my own square. I'm not Wakandan, but my bionic arm enhanced. Just say the words, I'm activated like a Nazi trance. Catch vibranium to your cranium, wanna glance. Full body cast from a Cyclops optic blast. I doubt your crew's prepared for this hit. Catch a glimpse of who I'm with, have you scared of the clip? No heart-shaped herbs or any terrigen myths. I'm taking out your ankles on some anti-carrion shit.